All right, what's up, everybody? We'll start this off with our intro so that we got to put the disclaimer up because we're playing a video real quick. All right, you guys. So first off, salute to one of our main promo partners, Casinos in Motion. We do all the charity casino action in LA, Orange County, San Diego, etc. Done work with the Lakers, Dodgers, the LA Police Department, you name it, any charity or any nonprofit group organization. Chances are my guys have been hired to do their casino stuff. And it's a lot like the old days with one exception. We don't skim any profits off of it, and we have to turn it all in. But we do make some money still, No skimming in today's world, right, Gene?
Right.
Yeah. So real quick, we'll introduce a couple of guests. First off, I have, of course, Gene. You guys know Gene Borello. Gene Borello's killing it with all of his social media. We love it that he's here. And, of course, I have Scotty Stutch. You've seen him around here before. Scotty's got the burglar hat on, but he's not committing any burglary crimes. I can guarantee you that. He's doing well enough. He don't have to do that no more. He's
just got home.
And Scott, of course, has his channel, which is Stepping Up with Stutch, right?
We're switching it into the 1% because Stepping Up, the way it's spelled, it's just too hard to the general public, sometimes you got to simplify it. So, I mean, Stepping Up, like the way it's spelled, Steppin', people are passing it over. So we're reforming it to the 1%. And then I'm going to do my side segment with Larry Mazda. We're going to do the life.
That should be good, having you and Larry on his show. You know what? The mob genre in general is picking up in 2024. There's me and Gene, you and Larry, A-Light and Felix. Gunsmoke has Frank Fiorellino. And I said that right? I didn't say Frank Tortellini like this other broadcaster sometimes calls him. He has also got Howie Santos. There's some others too. Real quick, shout outs to our fans. Yes, Chris, I guess you could say, I'm sponsored by cops. It's a crazy thing to say, but they sort of like guys that were around all this stuff who used to be around it. We can, we're a valuable asset to them in terms of, helping out the youth so they don't have to arrest quite as many kids in the future. That's part of what they like about us. Here's a guy. Look at this, Gene. Fan of your book, J802. Great book, Gene.
Thank you.
Amazon bestseller.
Yeah. And I tell you, we have been getting a lot of comments, Gene, from people saying that they're now buying your book. They just read your book, and
it was reported I sold over 10,000 copies already.
10,000 copies, and I can assure you, Gene didn't go and happen to buy 90% of them himself. He didn't write any big checks to buy his own book.
No,
that's all you. That's all you guys. Lots of love from all of you. Hello to Jessie Roth. She's a longtime fan. We'll put her thing up here.
Yes.
All right. There we go. Oh, this is moving. We got Carlos first here, and then I'll hit Jesse's. And then Bobby Berberian. What's up to you, buddy? Morgan. Yes, Gunsmoke did. Gunsmoke's a great dude. It's awesome that he was just on and that he said to come over here when he was done at 10. We've got 31 already just in the first few minutes, which is a great start. Our lives are doing awesome. We've got some on the other channel. And, of course, we're also live streaming on my Facebook profile and then the public profile that's tied with it. So for those of you who are my real-life friends, I'm not going to pull your comments up from Facebook because it has your real names and pictures. And believe me, you don't want any of these scroungy trolls that hate on us trying to, hit you up off the, but if you come into this chat and you just use like your YouTube profile and you want to make a comment, I'll put it on the screen. Believe me, we see it though. All right. So pull up. Chris, you're saying to read one of the comments up there? Oh, look at this. Chris also is saying,
What's this?
let's see. Scott Stutch, good to see you.
You too, Chris. Thank you.
That's right. Here's one from Chris for Gene. Gene, I worked at Russo's from 96 to 2011. I used to run the VIP when the guys would come. You definitely seen me if you went there before May of 2011.
Yeah, I used to go there. Of course. Roosters on the Bay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Tom Sheehy, we appreciate you becoming a channel member. We saw that you bought a channel membership. About 3 or 4 others have as well. Keep at it, you guys. Once we have enough channel members, then Gene and I will start doing some exclusive members only stuff. There's certain things, unfortunately, that we just can't say on here. YouTube has certain guidelines. They've even changed since Johnny and Gene were doing their show and Hootie and I were doing ours. There's certain words now, and they mess around with your push and all kinds of stuff. But
yeah, they
we
do.
shall go ahead, Gene.
They do. You can't mess around them on YouTube. You get demonetized over anything basically now. So
absolutely. Alex Vela, good morning, good afternoon. And speaking of demonetization, Jeff Nadeau obviously got hit. That's unfortunate. He's going to be doing Patreon, but he said he's still going to put videos on YouTube, which is good because it helps the genre, overall. So, all right,
you got to understand. Jeff is my good friend, and I speak to Jeff regularly. And Jeff's going to succeed regardless. You know what I mean? So he's just good at what he does. That's just the bottom line.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to play some footage. Now, as you guys know, part of what Gene and I do here is debunk these myths. And one of the myths that we always see is this myth that Hollywood sort of created where they pretend like we all know one another. And back then we did, like, we almost had like a phone directory list of every connected guy in America and, blah, blah, blah. The truth is, the way that these families were set up, not even high-level guys typically knew all of the members of their own family. And on today's show, we're going to show that one of the most infamous names, John Gotti, he himself did not know the majority of the Gambino family the day that he became boss, when he illegally became boss by taking out a boss without an okay from the commission. And we'll get into the politics behind that. Gene in particular is going to definitely know a lot about that because the commission is primarily the New York families. There's a couple of other families involved too. And they handle the stuff for pretty much everybody. So right now we're going to play the rest of this here. At any point that that Gene or Scotty, if you need to pause it, let me know. If you have a comment to throw in, I'll pause it. So you're going to see that we put the thumbnail periodically in here, and that was so that we could pass YouTube's copyright. I worked on this, I edited this 5 times to make sure it slipped through their copyright. So here we go.
His new underboss, Tommy Delano, pulled up to a fashionable steakhouse in Midtown Manhattan to meet some associates for dinner. As they started to exit the car, several men approached them and began firing. Castellano and Bellotti never knew what hit them. They were killed instantly. When the boss of a family is assassinated, the FBI believes that the person responsible is usually the one who steps up and assumes leadership of the family. It was mafia tradition to pay tribute to a new boss, to show him respect. 2 weeks after the murder, agents watched a parade of high-level Gambino family members enter the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club. They were meeting with John Gotti. Agent Mao and his squad would have to restructure their attack on the Gambino hierarchy. John Gotti was the new boss of the family. John Gotti became a Gambino family associate around 1970. He impressed the boss in 1973 by killing a man who had kidnapped and murdered a relative of Gambino. Gotti served 2 years for the hit before he was paroled. Upon his release, he quickly gained respect within the family. He began to make a great deal of money for the family through loan sharking and gambling operations. Special Agent George Gabriel was assigned to Mao's squad in 1985. He quickly became an expert on John Gotti.
He took care of it. If there were old ladies that were in need, if he had money in his pocket, he'd give it out. He was, in some respects, a Robin Hood in his neighborhood. But how did he make that money? By killing, by robbing, by manipulating, by bribing, by controlling rackets that he didn't have a right to control. And that's a side, when he didn't like you, when you fell on the wrong side of John, you died. I mean, there was no mercy.
Gotti was now the king. He found himself in command of a multi-million-dollar crime network made up of scams he did not know existed. He had a lot to learn.
Yeah, he had a lot to learn.
Surveillance, Special Agent Gabriel and the rest of the FBI squad learned right along with him.
John Gotti took over that family. He had to learn what the rackets were. And as he's learning them, we're learning them. Who's got what industries? Who's collecting from what unions? He's asking captains to give him a list of all the soldiers in there and their crews, so he could know who he's got in his family and how many.
Gotti was the boss, but he still had legal troubles. 6 months after becoming the head of the family, he was sent to jail to await trial on loan sharking and gambling charges. From his cell, Gotti ordered a murder. It was against Robert DiBernardo, who had been a close associate of Gotti. DiBernardo's assassination was set up by Angelo Ruggiero.
Angelo's one of the few guys who's got access to John in jail and tells him that Robert DiBernardo is talking subversive behind John's back, the boss's back. Angelo wants this done because Angelo owes Robert DiBernardo a lot of money and he doesn't want to pay him back.
On Gotti's behalf, Ruggiero asked Sammy the Bull Gravano to set up the hit.
You want some coffee?
Yeah, that'd be great.
On June 5th, 1986, DiBernardo showed up for a meeting at Gravano's construction office. Everyone greeted him as usual. DiBernardo must have suspected nothing. He was shot in the head from behind. His body was never found. The FBI learned of his death through informants. Agents believed Gotti's crew was responsible for the murder, but they needed proof. In August, 2 months after the DiBernardo hit, Gotti went to trial for the gambling and loan sharking charges filed 2 years before. But Gotti had not been the primary target of that indictment. The case was originally designed to bring down underboss Neil Della Croce. The case against Gotti was never that strong. On March 13th, 1987, Gotti was acquitted on all counts. Out of jail, John Gotti resumed his celebrity status. Around town, he was seen at fine restaurants and glitzy nightclubs, always immaculately dressed. Already he was known as the Dapper Don. Now, with his acquittal, he earned the title of the Teflon Don. Charges slid right off him.
JC, pause it.
To the media,
right,
he was
hang on.
glorified as the underdog who took on and...
Okay, go ahead.
Right. So there's a few things. When you know what got me aggravated? The government said something that annoyed me because they're no different. They said that John Gotti had no business doing these rackets, no business doing this stuff, only because they weren't getting money out of it. You see, they complain about the things that organized crime was doing because it was going into their pockets. It's all about money. You know what I mean? I feel like I feel like it's like almost like it's like a hypocrite thing. They have the license to take down this guy, but meanwhile, and I'm being honest with you, they're doing the same rackets that pretty much the government's doing in their own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you really think about
nearly
it.
all of them have been legalized now. The loan sharking business, payday loan places are everywhere. Most of the states have casino gambling of some type, and the government collects money from it.
And if you don't, it's all bull crap to me. I don't know. I just feel like I just feel like they're hypocrites in that sense. Like, oh, he had no rights doing this and that, but meanwhile, you know, you're doing the same thing. You do the same thing. You want the unions. You want everything. It's the same shit, bro.
Yeah. In fact, on that one, I agree with you too. And this shows we're fair when we do, an analysis of Gotti or whoever else, regardless of, you know, whatever we think of one particular individual who has a troll channel on here. The reality is that her dad, you know, that's right. He was doing what the government now does on many
Listen,
levels, collects money from now. Now, he did break some rules. He violated the LCN's rules on a few things, taking out.
but you know what? Hold on. But you know what? He
What?
was a gangster. He was a gangster. And you know what? I respect that about him. He was a gangster and he's a street guy like myself. He was a guy that took and basically, no, he didn't want his friends to die. That's why he killed Paul. You got to understand, he has a lot of good and bad ways with him. You know what I mean? That's with everybody.
Yes.
So, like I said, I'm not here to knock John Gotti Sr. because you can't really knock him. He was a gangster's gangster. He broke a lot of rules. But at the end of the day, he's still one of the biggest gangsters of all time, if not the biggest. I hate to say it's the truth. You know what I mean? What he did, he defined LCN. He defined it and lived to tell about it. You know what I mean? So people have to look at it like that. We sit here and we're going to debunk things, but at the end of the day, he was a gangster. That's what it was.
Exactly. He broke some rules, but a lot of the guys around then were as well. Now the one of the big things we debunked right now is that John Gotti, despite being a captain, mind you, at the time he did the hit, he didn't even know the majority of the members of the Gambino family, let alone who was in the other ones. Now, obviously, Gene, you'll know from your street days in New York, you'll know as a general rule, maybe you've heard of this guy or that guy, but the people you work with day to day, those are your guys. And, you know, and one reason why they have sit downs and stuff is when guys that don't know each other come across each other and have an argument over turf or something. They got to have a sit down. And in the case of Gotti, he didn't know most of these people. And for the fans out there, a lot of you guys think that if someone claims they didn't hear of this dude, that must mean they were never involved. And that's not the case.
That happens all the time. We almost fought Dominic Sicali and his whole crew. We didn't even know they were the same side. Back in 2003, I was young. I was with a made guy. He just got made, Mike Palmacio. We were out in a club. We had no idea who they were. We almost got into a brawl with them. It was Dominic Sicali acing on them guys. They didn't even know. You know what I mean? We had no clue who they were. And they turned out he was a captain. The other guy was a fucking killer. So you never know. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You simply, you know, and with a lot of the families, that's how it was. And some were more strict than others. You don't, you know, you only know the street names of a lot of these guys, truth be told. There's about 30 more seconds on this particular video. Then I'm going to put up a picture of the commission chart, and then he can explain what it means when prior to our next video, we're going to show where Tony Ducks wanted to eliminate Gotti because, you know, Ducks was old school. And Gene, you can get into the politics of it. There's like 30 more seconds of this and we'll
beat the government. But now it was Mao's turn to make a case against Gotti.
I get upset when they glorify a guy like that. To me, he's just a common thug, a criminal. He's a terrorist. He doesn't believe in our government. He doesn't believe in voting. Doesn't believe in church. Doesn't believe in family.
And in Gotti's defense, I don't like our government either.
Yeah, but
he's a mass murderer.
He did
glorify this.
Nah.
Go ahead.
Listen, I don't care. Whatever. That's not true. You know, like he's saying he didn't believe in this, believe in that. They just, you know, like I said, they're gonna make you sound horrible and make you sound like this rotten person. Yeah. There's a lot worse in the country than John Gotti. You know what I mean? They exaggerated him to the max. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exact, bro. I've every time I've been to court, it seems like the DA always says this guy's the worst guy I've ever seen, and you're like, bro, I got a traffic violation. You're telling me I'm the worst freaking dude? I got to be convicted for that?
Listen, Jay, he was funding baseballs. He was funding like little leagues. He did a lot for the community. Listen, you understand? The government was also jealous because he was looked upon as this hero to people in the neighborhood. And that bothers them, that they're glorifying looking up to this guy. You know what I mean? Because it's their job to hate us. They're taught and learned to hate us. Italian mafia is the worst. Hate them. They're no good people. They do this, they do that. You know, sometimes people that get killed, they deserve it. They got it coming. You know what I mean? It's just the truth. Some people really got it coming. Sex offenders, certain people that were killed, or like Gotti's son was killed. If somebody killed my son, I'm killing him too. Can you blame him?
No, not at all. No, and look, again, you know, Gotti violated rules, but what did he do it for? Him and his crew were busted, you know, the heroin issue, right? And he knew that was a death sentence for him. So he decided, before I get taken out, I'm going to take action and handle the guy that would be making the choice to take me out. He got him, or the other guy got him first.
Everybody says he ruined the mafia, but he was just a ballsy guy. I can say for myself, I was the same way. People hated me because I didn't follow rules. I broke rules. I disrespected people. Should I be dead? Yeah, absolutely. Am I dead? No. But I'm saying, you know, I'm not saying I was nowhere near of his status. Did I ever get the chance to ever get that high? No, I was taken out young. But I'm saying, I feel like, yeah, he broke a lot of rules. He did a lot of wrong, but he was just a fucking gangster. That's just what he was, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just what he was. And they all, you know, Bruce Mile, who's a known FBI agent, you know, he could say that, you know, he was just this bad thug and everything. I mean, go to other countries, bro. They're killing women and children, raping kids. Like, that wasn't going on with us.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I would tell the FBI of today, why aren't you investigating all these crazy kid crimes that we all know happen with high-level people? Why? Because you're scared that you guys will get fired because these are powerful people that can get your job. So that's why you don't go after these high-level ones that are really, you know.
You just seen that guy? He was like, he works for the White House. He's the head of the schools. He actually got caught in sex trafficking, and they won't even talk about it.
Yeah, no doubt, exactly.
They won't even talk about it. It's crazy. How come he's not blasted all over the news as the worst human in the world, all this stuff, but you want to bring up the Italian people that we not only did bad, we did good. We also protected our community and stuff. So, you know, to me, it's a, I don't know, double-edged sword.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Scott.
So, like, two things I want to add into that, everything you guys are saying is, like, number one, like, as you know my backstory, like, you know, with my dad's family business, stuff like that. I believe there's no bigger extortionist than the United States government. They want to tax money to tax money to tax money. They'll tax money 4 different ways. Like, you know, if your grandfather worked, you know, 9 to 5, 30 years, had a pension, he was taxed on that money that he was earning. And if he leaves it to you in a trust fund or something like that, you get taxed on the money that he taxed on. They're the biggest. There is. My dad got put away for 6 months and lost a 37-year-old family business because somebody said he was paying on the table, and they put out this big investigation, and, you know, somebody ratted, and they just said that, you know, they hammered him to the cross. The guy lost his business. He lost everything that he had. And all because of the government's greedy, like, not taking into consideration the past 37 years when he was at the peak of his business making $millions, the money he did give into the government when he was doing it. The restaurant business is a tough business, especially after COVID. And
Hey, Scott, I love that you said that after he stopped making the money, because you know why? They're just like gangsters. You're as good as your last dollar. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's crazy.
The government wants cookie cutter. Every time you pull off an exit when you're driving somewhere, they want you to have their Olive Gardens, their Best Buys, the Walmart. Every city wants to be mimicked because they can control those big corporations. They don't want small independent restaurants. They don't want small independent hardware stores or businesses running because they think we're not cookie cutter.
Right.
And you know, to add to it is, like, the government hated the mafia because they were competition to them. I mean,
that's it. That's it.
But the peak of the mafia in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, they had more of a grip in the neighborhoods of keeping the streets safe. And you can attest to this, Gene. People in New York City slept with their doors unlocked when the mafia ran those neighborhoods. Now,
absolutely.
Except when Gene was around, because Gene was robbing the gangsters. But other than when, you know, other during that time period.
You know, like I said, I broke the rules. I can't knock John Sr. I broke all the rules too. I should be dead. So I don't, you know.
Well, like, if you look at the marijuana cannabis business in Cali, you know, when I was involved doing what I was doing, we could have got life sentences in some of the states that we were traveling through to drop it off into Michigan. We could have got 20, 30 years. Now, anybody that opens up a pot shop is seen as some great business owner who just got this business mind, as long as he's paying his tax, of course. And, you know, then they, you know, look at him. He's a great capitalist. Well, you know, it's illegal gambling, same thing. Most of it's been legalized to some extent, whether it's native tribes or states doing it outright. Loan sharking has been legalized. Payday loans charge like 300% interest. You know,
That's all
they
they
don't
want.
break kneecaps, but they do screw up your credit score now, which is kind of bad too. You know, so they take it, you know, nearly all the old rackets, you know, before you know it, the government's going to start allowing truck hijacking if they can get money out of it. You know, that's about the only racket left that the government hasn't found a way to legalize.
If
Although
they can
they tax the shipments themselves, though, I think. So don't need to rob it. But all right, real quick. So before we go to the Ducks Corralo thing where he talks about Vic Amuso and Gaspipe Casso and you having them tested out by going at Gotti. This here that you see on the screen, this is from 63. This is, you know, FBI intelligence reports. You can take it for what it's worth, but it's pretty accurate. This shows the number of families that were around back then. And you're going to see there's like, you know, or at least mob controlled cities. There's like 3 in California. There's 5 in New York City itself.
What year is this? What year is this?
1963.
Well,
and these are all the bosses of these different families.
Well, Jay, that's before the 5 families. That's before the 5 families merged. That's why.
Okay.
1965, they merged together. So right now, this is all independence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, the original commission, if I'm correct, would be the 5 families from New York, the family in upstate New York, and then the Chicago outfit, correct? Those 7?
Right. Right. Because 1963, it wasn't formed yet. That didn't come till 1965. So that's still like on different terms, that is.
Yeah, and you can see that there was bosses all over. You can even see that even in Colorado, you know, there was a you know, mob presence. Even in, you know, you wouldn't expect to see Denver or Pueblo, Colorado on the map, but it is because, you know, they had guys operating there. And there's some of the cities are open. You see Dallas back in the day had Savella as the boss, right? I believe it was no, Savella was in Kansas City. Savello, close name, was the one in Texas. They had Louisiana with Carlos Marcello. You got the guys in
That's
Florida.
who I like. He was bad. Louisiana, they were bad. He was serious
Yeah.
guy.
And bro, the Louisiana mob, he was one of the first ones to move large scale marijuana weight. They were moving a lot.
They believe he killed JFK. They believe he was the guy to have JFK killed. They're almost positive that he's the one behind that murder.
And him and Trafficante, right?
Yeah, they believe that.
Throw Giancana in there too from Chicago.
Because remember, they got him. The claim is, like I said, this is all just talking to people and, you know, old timers. The claim is they got JFK into office. He didn't he didn't hold up to his bargains that he was supposed to, and they got rid of him. And his cousin Robert, they killed all of them. Robert got shot in the street, all of them. You know what I mean? Bobby was right. Which one got gunned down?
Yeah, Bobby Kennedy Sr. Yes.
They were killing them all.
His son did an interview a while back where he mentioned that Johnny Rosselli, was a famous mob figure from back east, and he was involved in California. He came out here and worked with Mickey Cohen, and he worked with the other Italians back east and all that. You know, Bobby Kennedy Jr., the one running for president, said that Rosselli and others, he actually linked them to certain, you know, we'll just say intelligence officials who didn't like Kennedy either. And the day before Rosselli was supposed to testify before a committee in Congress, for those of you who've studied history, his body was found in a barrel floating off of the coast of Florida.
Right. Right.
So Rosselli didn't make it to that. And Rosselli had never snitched or anything before. He was not an informant, but they weren't taking a risk because that was a pretty big thing to be talking about in general. You know, they didn't take any chances with that JFK thing.
I was telling somebody this the other day. They asked me about the mob and murder. I said, listen, back in the day, the old school guys, they didn't want to take no chances. You just died. There was no negotiating. If they even sniffed something or thought something, you're off the map. That's just the way it was. You know, you paid with your life. That's it. We can't risk it for the better of the cause of the family. You know, not to hurt our family. You know what I mean? So they'll just take you out. It don't matter.
Exactly. And the with leading into that, you know, we'll start with the Ducks versus Gotti thing, having to do with his opinion of, you know, this is a great segue for traditionalism versus the new generation of the 80s and all that. The traditionalist type mobsters believed in rule enforcement. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, I like the modern day. I'm sorry, I don't like traditional.
You're not a big rule guy.
I'm with John Sr. on this one. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's fine. Hey, I understand that. A lot of those rules. Well, here's the truth. A lot of those rules were BS, and they violated it themselves. The no drugs rule. They just didn't want us selling stuff. They wanted to, but they profited off that business for years.
Right.
You know, we know how that worked, you know. So the old do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
You know,
That's
rules
my motto.
for you, no rules for me. And Gene's like, get the F out of here with that. You have no rules. That means I have no rules.
Yo, the best line, the best line Vinny Asari used to say, he goes, what do you think? The rules only apply when they benefit you? That was his famous line.
You're like, well, that's sort of how it is.
Yeah. That was his famous line. Yeah.
All right, here we go. We got Ducks, the old school guy, not too happy with Gotti.
Gas have what it takes to become mafia leaders. In December 1985, an opportunity presents itself. John Gotti, an ambitious captain from the rival Gambino family, has shocked the mafia world by murdering his own boss in a brazen, unsanctioned bid for power.
3 gunmen in New York.
Let's kill John Gotti with a bomb.
Bad mistake.
And then we'll say the Zips did it, meaning Italian organized crime.
See that? Pause that.
All right, go ahead, Gene.
So you're talking about the bomb that blew him up that killed Frankie the Chico, right?
Yep.
See, that's a hit or miss for me because that bomb wasn't because of that bomb was put there for retaliation, but that was also with the Genovese family was part of that. So that's a hit or miss because they claim that the Genovese, Vinny the Chin, ordered that bombing. So it's like
the Chin was involved and Ducks was involved too. When I researched it, basically Ducks and Chin in particular were really old school, you know, in their own way. Of course, you know, the Chin did attract attention himself with those bathrobes and acting like a nutcase on the street.
Well,
you know, but they were old school. And at the time, Gaspipe was just brand new to, you know, being the Colombo boss, right? And so. And I think the Bananos were all commissioned by then.
Well, listen, I'll tell you a little secret, little neighborhood secret. When John Sr. was finally accepted on the commission, right? There was a guy trying to take over the Colombo family. His name was Joey Scopo. And John wanted Joey Scopo to become the boss because John was trying to get voted to become the head of the commission. So he was trying to get guys in power that would vote him the boss of all bosses, but they ended up killing Joey Scopo. So they never got to do that. So John's mission was to even get that chair. He was plotting on everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, and by the way, even though the Bananos were off the commission during this time because of the Donnie Brasco case, later on, they came back with a vengeance. This was during Gene's era, you know, during the time when the one guy that sort of escaped, the one guy that sort of escaped the Donnie Brasco issue, he only got like 8 years while the rest of them got like life. So he was really one of the lucky ones to be a captain at the time that didn't get much time. When he came back on the street with a vengeance, you know, Gene's old family, the guys he was an associate for, they weren't no joke. And one could say the Bananos became the most powerful one at the end.
Most violent, most
powerful, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, they may have got kicked off, but they went right back on after a few years. Here we go.
Cosa Nostra in America does not use a bomb.
Yeah, they're not supposed to use the bomb. Tell that to the guys from Cincinnati and the guys in Vegas that tried to get rid of Lefty Rosenthal with a bomb.
Because too many innocent people can get hurt by standing.
Now, here's the truth, though, to clarify this. In New York, they had a no bomb rule because of all the buildings, it's not spread out where you can get a guy out in the rural areas and that kind of stuff. So it was a smart move to not use those inside New York, because you kill innocent people with stuff. That's just going to upset the police department, the ATF, and everybody else. And then you're really going to have heat on you.
Or innocent people that might happen to get in the car at the time.
Eager to prove themselves to Tony Ducks, Vic and Gas decide to take the John Gotti contract. April 13th, 1986. Vic and Gas get a tip that Gotti is inside a well-known Gambino hangout in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. They see his car parked outside. Vic and Gas leave the scene, confident they have hit their mark. But the next day, they find out they've made a serious error. Tony Ducks is pleased with the outcome.
Now, real quick, before we go to your cousin here, pause that. So they said that he was pleased with the outcome, but they got rid of DeChico, but
And
I don't know.
I
don't know if they didn't get Gotti though.
They killed Eddie Leno and Bobby Borello, and they killed 3 of his guys.
Yeah, so they got other dudes too. And obviously it did send a message, even though Gotti wasn't clipped like he should have been technically. Having those kind of close calls did send a message to him that if we do let you become a recognized commission boss, you're gonna fucking pull the line.
Yeah, you gotta take some losses. That's what it was.
Yeah, you're gonna, you took out your boss. You violated a few other rules. Now you're gonna know what it feels like to have some things done to you. And
yeah, but they were the strongest family at the time. So the Gambino family was legitimately the strongest family. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's true. They were the largest at the time, and they had the FBI claimed they had $500 million a year coming in, which that's probably underestimated actually, but because they really didn't know 100%. That's just what they could sort of track with their surveillance stuff, and they didn't know everything at the time. They even said in the other video, as Gotti became boss, they were learning about new rackets too, because they were watching him as the rackets were being explained to him, the different scams they did and whatever else. So we're going to play right now. This is Anthony Ruggiano Jr., as a lot of you guys know. That's Gene Borello's cousin, Gene Borello's uncle. Anthony Sr. was no joke and was a real deal guy. And I think Anthony Jr. made a really good, poignant statement about Gotti, because I have said that Gotti took down the mob, but I'm actually revising that now after hearing, he brought heat. Yes, it's my view that he should have recognized all the heat and just kind of skipped town, and half the FBI in New York would have followed him. He could have gone to like Indiana or something, or Iowa, and have a big old estate and just chill, and half the FBI would have left New York following him, which would have made it easier on the others. But Anthony's, what he says about RICO, the RICO Act, and Gotti, I think is a really, really smart statement here. So let me start playing that. Here we go. And sub to Anthony's channel.
My father sitting at the kitchen table with his robe on and his cup of coffee and his cigarette in the ashtray with the Daily News opened up in front of him. I remember like it was yesterday. I walked up the steps. I sat down at the end of the table, and he went just like this. He went, "It's all over for us. They convicted him for a RICO. That's it. We're done." And that was it. And after that, my father and I and Tony Lee and John and Mikey Francis and Sammy the Bull and all of us went to jail for RICOs. Everybody I know went to jail for a RICO. So what he did was he put it on Front Street. The media made him the media did that. The media put him on Front Street, and he fed into it. He brought a lot of heat on us. He didn't bring it down. He brought a lot of heat on us. I would say more than that. In a way, that's bringing it down also, but he brought a lot of heat upon us. We paid the price for being around him.
Absolutely.
Breaking at this hour, the FBI.
we'll save this part for later. This is the latest news, by the way, from this latest Gambino graveyard kind of thing. We'll let Gene comment about that after that. What do you make of what your cousin said, Gene?
Yeah, it's the truth. I mean, like I said, Rico was designed for us, you know. But here's the thing: John Sr. was I can't say he loved the media. He just didn't give a fuck. He's a guy that I could. He just didn't care. I know people like that, and I was one myself. You just don't care. It is what it is. We're gonna take it day by day. Whatever happens, we just go for it. I'm not gonna hide. I'm not gonna run. This is what it is. You know what I mean? So, seeing him versus Tony Ducks is more like I didn't like the old school guys. I like more of the modern day, or you know, you want to say 80s and now. I like guys better like that. I feel like the real old school guys were more how can I say it, full of shit, to be honest with you, because they didn't follow nothing they did. They were greedy people, very greedy, all about themselves. Anyone knows Italian zips, they're the worst. And basically my opinion is that I feel like John Sr. basically defined all the rules because he said they're going to kill my friends. All my friends are going to die. They're all breaking the fucking rules as it is anyway. So what the fuck? Neil Del Croce died. This guy doesn't even come to the funeral. Now he wants us all gone. What am I gonna do? Just sit here and die, or go make a move? You know what I'm saying? If you put it in that perspective, you know.
Yeah, and you know this comment here from Boss Chin wanted to get everybody around Gotti first, tightening the noose. That's probably true, but that when they detonated that bomb was intended for Gotti too. They make no mistake about it. They wanted to get him too, and it just didn't work. It failed.
Now, Jay, let me ask you this question: did you ever come to the conclusion that all these guys were scared of him? These old timers are probably scared of him deep down inside. Get him out of here. He's too dangerous. I know about that. You know what I mean? Get him out. He's got to go. This guy's going to try to take everything. Honestly, people get scared of that. You know, when you get a real violent, dangerous guy like that, you know, these guys are all old. This guy's coming in with the strongest crew. He might try to take everybody out. That's what happens. People get scared of people like that.
Yeah, you know, and he, you know, he's an example of like one of the tough guys that gets into power, but he wasn't as good of a strategic thinker as a boss should be.
He's a thug. He's a thug. That's what he was. You know, you gotta understand. That's what I'm called, so I can relate. They call me a street thug. I understand that. We just don't give a fuck, and that's great. It's not good to be in power. It's very dangerous to be in power with a guy like a mentality like that. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, a lot of those old timer guys, like you said, they were full of it in the sense that they'd have the old there's no drug dealing allowed, but then you find out Genovese freaking was moving, you know, this stuff. You got Carmine Galante especially was moving that. And on top of that, a lot of people don't know this, but Carmine Galante was moving a shit ton of weed from California. And he actually had there was a bust with 18,000 pounds of weed in a plane. It was busted in Pennsylvania when the pilot landed or something. And they linked it. The DEA immediately was like, this is one of Carmine Galante's big pot shipments to New York. Anthony Casso, he was also a big pot guy. He used to store, you know, he was one of those 20,000 pounds at one time moving it into New York Harbor with his Colombian friends. So they all did that stuff, but then they would say, if you guys get involved with any of that, you deal, you die, that kind of garbage. So they made money off all that stuff. Yet then they tried to put these bullshit rules on everybody else. In their day, they definitely were tough, you know, and they had some standards. I'll give them that, but they also allowed themselves to get they allowed themselves to get caught up in sort of their own hype, and there was so much hypocrisy, and there was some issues there. All right, we're definitely doing good. We got 63 in the live chat here. On my regular Facebook page, there's like 45 watching, and I don't see the numbers for the Facebook group itself. That's a public page for anybody who wants to follow me or Gene over there. So we'll move to this latest story, because some of you were asking in the comments, hey, get Gene's perspective on what he thinks this new Gambino thing is about. And
I could get that for you in a second. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so here we go.
Eyes on the scene at 2 sites in Orange County. They're using heavy equipment to dig for possible bodies in connection with an ongoing investigation into the Gambino crime family. Let's get to News 4's chief investigative reporter, Jonathan Beast.
Chuck, we're told no bodies found so far, but the digging in Orange County will resume in the morning. The search for bodies, part of an expanding FBI organized crime investigation that saw a 16-count racketeering indictment last week. The FBI descended on this Goshen property looking for what could be a so-called Gambino graveyard. Investigators looking to see if members and associates of the Gambino crime family buried victims here over the years. The FBI is not saying who they think might be buried here, only confirming their agents have been on scene all day as part of the ongoing investigation. Amid the woods and marsh, a backhoe seen digging for bodies. Blue tarps at the ready to protect any potential discovery, but sources say so far, no skeletal remains found. This the second day of digging. In addition to the Goshen property, police say farmland in Campbell Hall also searched. The dig in Goshen expected to continue in the morning. It was last week the FBI and Italian authorities conducted joint raids, arrests made overseas in Sicily and here in New York. 10 reputed Gambino members and associates were charged in a wide-ranging racketeering indictment out of Brooklyn. Suspects with colorful names: Joseph Lanny, known as Joe Brooklyn, and Vincent Mascaro, called Vinny Slick. The FBI New York director outlined alleged robberies, extortions, and frauds, including threats made through arson or the use of this baseball bat.
Hey.
Baseball bats, fire.
You know what? You guys made a key error there. You should have bought a John A-Light baseball bat if you were going to go do baseball batting. If you want to be successful as a batter on the streets of New York, you got to get a John A-Light bat, period.
Right. All right. Well, listen. So, with that being said, so basically, when they go and dig like that, I can tell you from, like, for instance, on my case, right? They had to confirm because we were going to kill a witness and we dug a hole. And they had to go to the hole, and they had to confirm that the hole was dug. Obviously, I had just shot somebody in the car, and the guy in the car, we wanted to get rid of him. Anyway, long story short, we dug the hole. We tried to kidnap him for 3 weeks. He got away, but the hole was dug. So they had to go there and confirm the hole. What I'm trying to say is that this is from a proffer. Somebody said, basically, there's bodies in that area, or they're sending them on a wild goose chase. Somebody just saying something, but the FBI 100% received the tip from a cooperator from that case that sat down and maybe gave them a proffer, which you won't know who proffered until later on. And they might have just said, listen, we know of or heard of there might be murders or bodies there from maybe old school murders or something where they had to go and check it, because with the FBI and the Italian Mafia and murders, that's their big thing. That's their glory cases. So they're going to jump on that and search the whole Orange County if they have to, just on a rumor. So what I'm thinking is that either a guy in that case did a proffer and, was scared to do time, didn't want to do his time, probably just jumped in real quick as soon as he got locked up and said, listen, I know there's a bodies possibly, and they can't find them. So from what I'm thinking, is definitely a cooperator on that case that did that.
Yeah, I would agree. Remember a few years ago, the Michigan FBI started digging for, Hoffa allegedly on this top secret, my guess on that one was either they got a lousy tip from some dude that got arrested, or it's possible that, there was the old time bosses that were still around when this happened. They were really old men. From what I've read in the news, they were fighting each other, right? They were pissed. 2 old Italian dudes that had been friends finally they're like 80 years old, ready to punch each other. And so what might have happened was one of them went ahead and called the FBI anonymously saying, hey, on so-and-so's property.
Nah, I doubt that.
Just to get the thing, just to get.
Yeah, no way. That's coming from a cooperator that did a proffer saying that either he knows there's bodies out there or somebody, there's something in that area. Somebody gave them that tip. They're not just going to go there for no reason. That's a proffer session, 100%. Yeah.
They're, it's just they didn't find anything, but you know what? Just because they haven't found anything yet there, keep in mind, Lake Mead, not too far from me. The lower the water gets, everybody's finding out Tony Spilatro's old problems that were dumped in Lake Mead. They're starting to show back up. They don't look the same anymore.
All right.
But some of these old problems.
Scott, what do you think about this?
I mean, it's all glorified media hype. I mean, the media loves, they love, with the mob and everything like that. I mean, Hollywood loves the mob. Everybody loves, and I think that, I agree with you. I mean, it just, people don't do their job that good that they're just like, wow, look at it. I think there's some bodies up in this farmland up in Northeast New York. I mean, it's definitely a tip off. I mean, the guys at the FBI aren't that good. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I know.
And they're gonna, if they get a tip, the FBI doesn't just accept any old thing people tell them, because they know that there's plenty of guys who make things up. I mean, if Raimondi walked into an FBI office, they would kick him out. They wouldn't even listen to one word he has to say.
Oh my God. I want to listen. He admits to all these murders. Listen, he admits to all these murders. Did he get coverage on them? I'm trying to figure this out because I cooperate. I know how it works. No, you admit to what you've done. You get coverage on it. So you're admitting to your crimes. You can't just go on TV and say, I killed this one, I killed that one, I killed this one, and then not get locked up. So, I mean, I don't understand. I'm confused on that, but okay.
Unless you have a deal somewhere, which no way, no how.
You have to, anybody listening, please understand, you cannot admit to murders. There's no statute of limitation on murders. If they're real murders and you're saying you killed someone without the FBI coverage, where you sit down with a prosecutor, you sign a contract, and they say, okay, anything you say from this point, you cannot be charged with. Even if we don't use you, you cannot be charged with it. Okay? So that means you did a proffer session, you cooperated with the government, and you did, and you gave up these 100 murders, whatever it is. I don't know.
Then again, he took out 300 guys in Vietnam.
Right.
And he did it with
he's Tom McClancy.
He's pocket knife too. It was a pocket. He did a mass pocket knife attack and took out 300 hardcore Viet Cong members, bro.
Listen, these guys ruined the genre that we created. It was so good with the real guys coming out, and then you got these fucking chickies, these clowns, these other one, what's his name, Raimondis. It's so bad because they had nothing to do with the life, and they're talking about this nonsense, and it's just so bad, bro. It makes the genre look so bad, bro. It really does. Really does. And they put this guy. They put this guy on Vlad TV. They put Raimondi on Vlad TV to talk about these bullshit murders that never happened. Okay, it's crazy.
He's got the glasses on. He's got the permanent.
Oh my God!
Low budget cigar in his mouth.
Oh God, that velour suit.
When I was on Coney Island,
it looks like a gangster startup kit. He got the velour suit, the sneakers, the glasses. Real asshole, boy. Let me tell you.
Bro, he's one of those guys who took like as many famous gangster last names and threw it all into his. It's like, imagine if Scotty said, you know what, my name is Scotty Stutch Capone Casso Spilatro Rosenthal, freaking naming off like 8 different ethnic groups.
He said he was related. He said Lucky Luciano was at like his baptized or something like that. It was insane.
Yeah, I got baptized by.
Oh my God,
bro! Lucky Luciano didn't even dunk his head underwater one time to shut him up. Okay.
He's worse than that other guy. What's his name? The one from Hollywood, the one I really can't stand with the bad spray tan. Who's the one from Godfather, the movie?
Gianni Russo.
Oh my God. He looks like he's from Jersey Shore with that spray tan. He's got like this big bad spray tan. These big white teeth. He comes on there. He's like back in 1976, I went to Paul Castellano's house. I scraped the cheese off his pizza. It was so amazing. And he calls himself the Hollywood Godfather. Oh my God.
You know who he looks like? Remember back when we were kids? Remember Tales of the Crypt, the Crypt Keeper.
Hello, kitty. These guys are characters, bro. They make it bad. Like, we came out here telling stories that we're really a part of. These guys come out here and just make up the. I could sit here and bullshit people all day. I don't. I just tell it what it is. I like to tell the facts and what really went on. You know what I mean? These people come out here and want to become like these mega hitmans that kill all these people. I don't want to be known as a murderer. It's not a good thing. You know, these guys think it's great. These guys think it's great to take someone's life, which I know they never shot nobody. They never stabbed nobody. They never did any of the stuff they're talking about. But it's not a good feeling. You know, maybe when you're younger and you run around, it might be cool. But when you get older, and like for me, I have victims that contact me all the time. It's not a good feeling. You know what I'm saying? Literally, it's not a good feeling. They contact me constantly on Instagram and say, you know, what you did to me, and I feel bad. You know what I'm saying? So like, these people glorify this stuff, but it's really not cool. You know what I mean? I want that to be known. I don't take like honor and privilege in shooting and hurting someone and trying to kill someone and things that I did. It was just what I was born into, and I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought that's how you prospered in that life, and that was my mistake. So I want everyone to know, these guys coming on here glorifying about shooting people and killing people, they're just assholes, you know?
Yeah, in fact, the guy that introduced me to the guys in Michigan, he was one of my friends from California, Italian kid that moved back there. He vanished in the year 1995 when I was just 20 years old. I've never heard from him since. He's never been on social media, and I've always checked. When Facebook first came out, I typed in his name, not there. And when it's a eerie feeling when a kid you grew up with just vanishes. And then I asked one dude one time, hey, where's Daniel been? And he said, I don't know. Maybe he skipped town. Maybe he OD'd on drugs. Who knows? And I knew right then, don't ever ask that question again.
Right.
And it's just, you know, and then you know that the dudes who probably did it are shaking hands with you and patting you on the back and telling you how important you are to them and stuff like that. You know?
It's definitely a dog world. I just like to say, don't get me wrong, I give my stories about what I really was a part of. You know, obviously people ask me for them, but at the end of the day, hurting the people, the victims that I do have and the people that I hurt, it's not cool. You know what I mean? It wasn't. It was just me being young and dumb and running around wild. And did I make a name for myself doing it? Yeah, with organized crime, but you know, it wasn't the right thing to do. You know, that's the truth.
You were born into it, though. You know, Gene, I mean, you were a victim of circumstance and survival when you're in the big cities. You know, like, you can't blame yourself for your past, but these guys that come on here, you know, if they would just understand that, if they would just tell their real story, no one can pull your card. And that's why I say when I go on, because I got nothing to hide. I don't want nobody pulling my card because I just keep it real.
Bro, Scott, listen to my interviews. What do I always say? I was on the bottom. Yeah, I was very respected and feared, but I was on the bottom in the organized crime world. I was working my way up. I never make myself bigger than what I was. I made good money at one time. The most I made in my life was probably $30,000, $40,000 a month, which people say it's a ton of money. It's really not when you're living crazy. But that was only for a short period of time. I did a lot of stick-ups, did a lot of armed robberies, home invasions. I was a known armed robber. I never made myself bigger than what I was. I just kept it real. I was a wild, dangerous kid with a big set of balls that didn't give a fuck about last names. And that also was my downfall. You know what I mean? Because I was trying to make a name for myself, and I had no regards for a human life at the time. You know, I didn't have no regards. It was just in me. I just couldn't control myself almost. So, but I never made myself bigger than what I am. I always told them what it was. I was an associate. I was proposed at 27 years old, on my way to become a member. A lot of people respected me and looked up to me. But at the end of the day, in organized crime world, I was on the bottom. That's just the truth, you know?
It makes you who you are today, though. Like, because of our past, it makes us the strong people we are today. And the fact that we can identify our past and learn from it, that's what makes us strong people now.
Right.
Yeah, same here. You know, from day one when Hootie and I first started, one of the first things I said is, if you're expecting to hear stories from me about sitting in social clubs with 50 other mobsters, you're talking to the wrong dude, because I only dealt with a couple people that I had to know. And the way the Detroit mob worked, they weren't sending out lists of everybody's flipping names, not even their street names for that matter. You know, same thing with New York in the 80s and 90s and all that. And, you know, look, I was a guy that connected them with pot, usually on average once a month. And we would handle getting it back there. And so my experience was that when I hung out, we'd go spend a couple days at the beach here in California, have some fun while we waited for our Mexican friends to bring us whatever we needed. And then, package it up and I'd send it on the way, or maybe sometimes I was involved in moving it and I'd get paid more. And that's really the extent of it. I didn't have to enforce a whole lot. I've defended myself, but thank goodness I never had to call the Gene Borellos of the world to. The good thing about the pop business back then is you're dealing with hippies primarily, and then Mexican dudes who know the money angle and don't want to mess around.
Right.
Ahead,
JC, and also my downfall, what my real downfall was, and a lot of people knew this, is like I always look for the fast money. So my mistake was like, say for instance, I'm dealing with you, right? I had a robbery team, and I would say, instead of looking for the long term, I would try to get you right away. Oh, bring me 200 pounds and rob you. You know what I mean? But that's what we were doing. It wasn't smart because I was young and dumb, and we were just wild, and we just wanted the fast money. Instead of luring some guy down the road and maybe getting 5, 6, 7, 800 pounds from him, we would go for the quick 80, 100 pounds, just grab them, take them, and that's it. Whack the money up. But, if I had the brain I had now back then, I would be a multi-gazillionaire because I had access to everything. People called me for everything. Guns, this, fucking a tank. I'm just saying, I had access to everything. You know what I mean? So I was the gun guy. You wanted a pistol, you came to me. Anything in that era, drugs, loan shark sports. It's just that I was always for the fast buck. If I had, like I said, my sense today, back then, forget it. I would be a multi-gazillionaire, literally. But I went for the fast buck, and that was definitely my downfall.
If you'd been around me and then the guys that were older than myself, they would have harnessed your skills and they would have turned me and you into Lefty Rosenthal and Spilatro, except instead of protecting casinos, we would be protecting the marijuana smuggling thing. I guarantee they would have been like, Gene, how'd you like to get a consistent paycheck every week?
I can tell you this like it's I can tell you this like it's yesterday. I had so many drug dealers say, Gene, just roll with me. Fuck this. Chris Cagnata. He was like, Gene, fuck the mafia. Come on, bro. We'll take this whole shit. And you won't have the heat on you. He's like, you won't have the heat. You got heat hanging out with these guys. You hang out, me and you. We'll lock shit down. We'll make tons of money, and you won't have heat. You won't be with these guys that are surveilled 20. I wish I listened to him. Even other drug dealers, a few of them said, Gene, come on, just work with me. We'll be partners. Screw the mafia. We'll make a fortune. And you don't have to be out there on Front Street walking around Vinny Asaro, who got 24-hour surveillance on him. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's true. It was I was my own enemy.
The rest of that video is just the news saying they didn't find anything. So we'll let me get that off the screen real quick, and then let's do a quick shout out your guys' channels, any of your media work, your book, of course, Gene, you too, Scott, all your stuff. Start with Gene and then go to Scott, and then I'll conclude it all.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you could shout me out at my Instagram, of course, Gene Borello. You could DM me for personal autograph copies, or you could get it off Amazon. I also want to shout out my good friend Eric with his vodka, Legacy Vodka. It's really good. Can you see it over there? Yeah, so it's blowing up.
Being that you're not slurring, I can tell you haven't been drinking any of it. You're just showing. He's just showing the bottle, no slurring.
All right. Right, and there's about a big things we're coming forward. Eric is a good friend of mine, and we have a lot of projects coming in the future. And I just want to say, like I said, I'll be on this channel from now on with JC, and we will be doing shows and debunking people and giving true crime, and I'm excited for it.
Go ahead, Scott. What are you up to, buddy?
First, I just want to thank you two for letting me join us today. This was great. It was a privilege to sit down with you guys. Know you for a while, JC. Gene, we met about a year ago. Nice to sit down with you guys. And I also good friends with Eric that you're talking about. Stand-up gentleman, great dude. Anybody that seen what Gene just put up, endorse it. He's working on a project right now.
I will be in it. I can't give the secret yet, but I might be in a real movie. I don't know. We'll see what's going on here.
Yeah, and make sure anybody that wants to support Eric, on Instagram, Pony the movie, him, John Ayla, a couple people, they're gonna be working on that project. Looking incredible from what they're putting together so far.
Real movie.
And yeah, just
then you have Larry Mazza too, right?
Yeah, we have me and Larry. We're going to be January 2024. We're going to start releasing some stuff. It's not going to be all mob stuff. I'm obviously he's going to tell some stories about the life here and there. We're going to go more of a different approach. We're going to talk about, he's an entrepreneur. I grew up in the restaurant business. We're going to talk about what it takes to create your own business, create opportunities for yourself, stay positive. Right. We're going to talk about some fitness stuff with the gym, some, just simple things like the everyday lifestyle, like how to stay in shape, good meals and stuff like that. Talk about some stuff with fitness, sports, doing multi-purpose. So it's just going to be like the gentleman show kind of, and just like, just talking about like all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to have my show, the 1% Club, people that are willing to give it all, wake up every day, make sacrifices to be the best version of yourself.
Absolutely. I met Larry Mazza with A-Light and Gunner and Scott Bernstein, your cousin Anthony, and others in LA. And hanging out with Larry, let me tell you something. He's a really cool dude to hang out with. We were at a really nice place in Orange County, and he is a complete gentleman. He's very humble in real life. His wife is a very cool woman too. Just like Larry is definitely one of the guys that, despite all of the crazy stuff he was involved with, because obviously we know who he was around and some of that stuff, the man is he's extremely well-mannered, very polite, and the consummate gentleman. So I can't speak higher of Larry. When you actually meet him in real person, especially, you get that impression of him. Also, Gene's cousin Anthony, I was sitting across from him at the hotel that they were at when I met up with them. And Anthony's like, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, what's up? You're JC, right?" Yeah, and he's like, "You do some good stuff." And Anthony Ruggiano is an absolute gentleman. He's doing great work with the anti-drug stuff. That's some other things that I'm getting involved with, as well as Gene, John, others. We've all been, unfortunately, when you're involved with all this stuff, there's an unfortunate level of karma, if you will, that comes back your way, and your family members get hit with these same problems. Mike Francis lost his dear sister to drugs and stuff, which the mob obviously was moving. That same kind of stuff. John lost his dear daughter. God bless him. I lost my sister as well to that. And so it hits everybody that is involved. And there's a part of you that feels bad when you see it come back directly to your friends, families, and neighbors. And then you really realize the error of your ways from when you were younger. So anyhow, go to mobentertainmentgroup.com. Also, I have, my IG, Mob Entertainment Group. You're more than welcome to join the public Facebook group, which I believe is actually / Mob Entertainment News. We have the other channel, which we have enough subs to get monetized. We're just going to get the watch hours up. That way, Gene and I will have 2 channels monetized, and we can start to do different types of stuff on each one and have different focuses. We're going to be collaborating with Scott. Thank you to Gunsmoke Dawn for shouting us out on his show before. Frank, thank you, Howie Santos. You've been good to us. John A-Light, Felix. 2024, you guys, is shaping up to be big. There's going to be at least 4 to 5. We can't forget Mikey Scars and RJ. Jeff Nadeau's still going to be doing stuff. There's going to be a lot of good shows in 2024. The genre is sort of repairing itself after this fanboy nonsense, troll nonsense that happened in the last couple of years. We are resilient. You will not beat us. We're the kind of guys that you could, the FBI can bankrupt any of us, or the state government going at us, whatever it might be. Guess what, though? We bounce back because we're cut like that, and we're built that way. Thank you, Gene, and thank you, Scott.
Guys, thank you. Have a great afternoon.
All right, you guys. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and on your way out, you can also become a channel member, and of course, send a Cash App. at Mobster Entertainment, or you can send a super thanks, I believe, is a paid comment that highlights. And we will be shouting you guys out. We appreciate the folks that have already become channel members just without even us asking. We've got like 4 or 5 that just started joining. Thank you. We'll see you guys here probably sometime during the week here. We're going to be dropping a couple videos each week. You'll see us. We'll be back. Thank you. Enjoy. Have a great rest of your weekend and stay safe. Have fun with your families this holiday. All right.